Okay, free. Free. No, wait.
Still working. Two participants. Are you sure इसके साथ में सलवार नहीं है?
नहीं करते।
Good morning, everyone. We'll be starting in a couple of minutes. I just put some notes on the screen, so I only can recommend if you can get a pen and paper handy to take some notes, just in case there are any technical information you want to record, you'll be able to do so. A copy of this recording will be sent to everyone who requests a copy, together with the attachments, which include in this presentation that I'm preparing, that I'll be going through. I'll send a copy of this as well. So just give it one more minute. We will start, please. Thank you.
Recorded, okay. So now what happens?
You don't need to see it.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Could I just please request if you can mute yourselves for the sake of others?
Okay, but first you have to unlock your device. Not the web.
Well. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this session. First of all, can you see a copy of the presentation? Thank you. Thank you, Justin. Thank you very much. If I can just please request if you can all mute yourself for the sake of others. And more people are joining, so I'm accepting everyone. Like I said, a copy of this recording will be sent to anyone who want to go through it in their own time. I just want to thank Carol for arranging this. It's a very important subject, and I'm sorry to say many of us are not prepared for this matter. It is something that people tend to brush under the carpet. It is a subject that when people start talking about it, it can create animosity within the family, and you know, it can get a bit complicated. You know, there's a saying that sorry, I know it's not a nice way of saying it, it's a very morbid subject, but there is a saying that the dead cannot speak. I, sorry to say, completely disagree. There is a voice from the grave, and that voice is the last will and testament, which the court will accept and honor, provided that it is provided that there is a registered document in the court. So I know people are still joining, but we will start. And like I said, a copy of this presentation will be sent. If you can, please mute yourselves. I think some of you are not muted. If you can please mute yourself for the sake of others, and we'll take it from there. The topic is called the importance of succession planning. Now, I know the word succession planning could have different meanings to people. For me, succession planning for me means dealing with your fears post-death. So this topic is all about dealing with your assets, the guardianship of your children. It could be in this country, in your home country, it could be in other countries, it's case by case. So rest assured, I'll be covering all points. And just to go through the notes I've put there, that fill in the feedback form. I'll send the link shortly. Number two, a copy of this recording plus some very important attachments will be forwarded to you afterwards. Any questions you have, you can put it in the group chat, or you can ask me, unmute yourself and ask me what if you have a question or a concern. So everything I'll be covering today. So why am I saying succession planning in advance? The reason why I'm saying in advance, having a will, I keep telling everyone, is part of a jigsaw puzzle. But in order to complete the puzzle, we need to put all the documents in order. You should have like again, it's a morbid subject, so bear with me if I'm using some very blunt words. You should have
for a while that I was second guessing a few things, and I've been here before. But
sorry, can you please mute yourself, everyone, for the sake of others? So you should have a death file that when you're dealing with the post-death matters, the surviving, say the spouse or the family, whoever you're appointing afterwards to deal with the paperwork, you should have a death file. And in that file, you should have everything: a will, marriage certificate, birth certificate. For me, which is equally important, is the list of assets. I'm sorry to say, I feel like transparency, sharing information between couples, it's not common in this part of the world. Actually, it's not common in any part of the world. So this is why we're going through this talk, to explain all the documents required when you're dealing with a death case and what you should be knowing in advance. So let's begin now. This is the feedback form. If you want to take a picture of this, please do so. So with this feedback form, you'll be able to put all the information. Sorry, second. You can upload your details so I can send the copy of the presentation. All I need is your name, email ID, contact number, and let me know if you have any minor children. The age of maturity in this part of the world is 21, not 18. If you ask me, age of maturity should be 25, but that's a different matter altogether. And if you can mention the EPC quote or a reference for the Emirates Wives Club or Pilots Club, it's just so that I know that you will be entitled to the corporate rate. Because if you pick this subject, or you want to continue with the process after a month or so, or some people do delay this process, at least I know that you were part of this talk, so that you'll be entitled to the corporate rate. So many people ask me a question: what happens if I pass away? What does my wife get? What does my children get? What does my mother get? If you don't have children, will my siblings get involved? We have launched the first of its ever kind in the GCC, an inheritance calculator app. So you can download this app, type in who is your family members, and you type in the amount of money. So say, I don't know, 100,000, whatever currency you are dealing with. Could be dirhams, dollars, euros, could be whatever currency. You put the amount, your family members, and this app will work out exactly who gets what. But before you put the information into the app, I just want to tell you something very important, that this is if you pass away with no will. So remember the difference. Every country has their default law. If you go to Europe, they have a default law. You go to Africa, they have a default law. You go to even the Far East, they have a default law. Where there is a will, the will is accepted, but when there is no will, the law of the land will apply. And I keep telling everyone that I'm not here to tell you which law is better, because at the end of the day, faults can be found in any law depending on your circumstances. So let's take an example. Husband pass away. You club all of his assets. Now, when I say assets, I'm talking about his bank account, the car, property, investments, club it all together. You will have 100 shares. Out of the 100, the wife will take 12.5 shares. The parents will take 16.66 each. And the balance will go 2 shares to the son, 1 share to the daughter. I'll repeat again. Out of the 100 shares, the wife takes 12.5 shares.
What, 5?
The wife will take 12.5 shares. The parents will take 16.6 each,
Behind the share.
and the children 2 shares to the son, 1 share to the daughter. If there are no parents, the wife still takes 12.5, and the balance 2 shares to the son, 1 share to the daughter. What I'm trying to get to, the shares can only be calculated once we know who is alive at the time of execution. So this app can do all of this for you. I recommend you download it, and you can keep adding, taking it out, wherever it is. But remember, this is if you pass away with no will. The courts here are not trying to make it difficult that you have to have this law. The court is saying, if you don't have a will, our law will apply. And like I told you, there are faults in every law, because at the end of the day, no one knows your circumstances. Now, who are just wills? I joined them back in 1989. That'll probably tell you how old I am. And I came into this region back in 2005. We were the first company to set up here, and I've carried out hundreds of these talks and presentations trying to educate people on the importance of this subject. So what is a will? A will is a legal or binding document that coordinates your wishes after your death. Remember, after your death. So what you do in your lifetime is a different matter. Whether you buy a car, you buy a property, you change jobs, you are employed, you become self-employed. What you do in your lifetime, that's one thing. The will works once there is a death certificate, which means you have to be 100% completely, again, I can't think of the right word, dead. I'm sorry, I can't think of any other words. So what I'm trying to get to, that if you're on a life support machine, breathing oxygen, and the doctors declared you 99% dead, it doesn't mean you're dead because you're still breathing oxygen. So a will only works once there is a death certificate. No death certificate, no will. This is not in the UAE. This issue, or whatever you want to call it, happens in every country in the world. Now, your estate, and this is a confusion, a major confusion, estate is not limited to property. Everyone think, oh, property, will. No, you have a bank account, will. You have investments, you have will. You have jewelry, you have a car. Because the will is covering whatever you own at the time of your demise. Everything is part of the will. So the will covers everything, what you own. But don't think it's just related to property. This is a misconception. So if you're buying an off-plan property, it is still part of your estate. A will allows you to communicate your wishes clearly and precisely, including appointing guardians for your children. You can also put clauses in for your funeral wishes and any executorship provisions. Unlike a trust or a holding company, a will is only activated upon your passing away, and the will can be revoked, it can be amended anytime. For us, a will is one of the most important legally binding documents you will ever draft in your lifetime. And our job is to try and make this process as simple as possible. Now, what happens if you pass away with no will? The three boxes that you see there will happen irrespective if there is a will or no will. Now, what I want you to understand is that bank accounts are blocked immediately once the bank is informed of death. Now, many people ask me, how does a bank find out somebody has passed away? Well, in my experience, there's one of three ways. Number one is if you're working for a company and there is a human resources department, HR, one of the obligations of HR is to tell the bank where the salary is going into that the employee has passed away, or if the employee leaves the company. I had a situation where one of my clients was working for the Rotana Beach Hotel in Abu Dhabi, and he was being transferred to Fujairah. Now, if you look, it was the same employer, just two different locations, two different visas. The person told his bank that I'm moving to Fujairah and my visa will be cancelled and amended, renewed or changed from Abu Dhabi to Fujairah. The moment the bank was notified of a visa change, they temporarily blocked his bank account. Now you imagine he was alive, but they blocked the bank account. So you imagine when you pass away, what they're going to do. They will block it, but they only block it if they're informed. So HR will tell the bank. They may give you a window that take the money out, but in reality, it never happens. But they give you a window that to take the money out, that's a different matter. But for the sake of argument, and in my experience, if you look at probability, that window's not there. So the moment the bank is informed, they push the button, freeze the account. Number two, how does a bank find out? If you have a mortgage or loans owing to the bank, you have to tell them so they can freeze the account so there will be no additional charges or late payment fees or any other penalties. And if you have a mortgage, again, the bank has to be notified so that they can claim on the life assurance to claim to clear the mortgage. So if you have a mortgage with Bank A and then you have life assurance with Company B, Company B will have to pay the amount to Bank A to clear the mortgage. Now, if you don't tell the bank, then how will the bank claim the insurance? How will the insurance be paid out? So banks and insurance companies will be informed in due course. The other way of finding out is, many people may not know this, but when you are dealing with a death case and you have to cancel the visa of the deceased, all the government departments are connected. So once your name is in the system, there's nothing I can do. What is very interesting to note, and this is again, this is a huge misinformation or communication, misunderstanding, and banks, I'm sorry to say, does not help, is when they block the accounts, they're blocking all accounts, whether it's single or joint. So remember, joint accounts in this part of the world does not have the same concept it may have in your home country. That is called an either or survivor bank account. The concept here is and or, which means anyone can operate the account, but it's not either or survivor. Either or survivor does not operate here. So take an example, you bank with HSBC UAE and HSBC Singapore, or HSBC Australia or UK. If you pass away, HSBC in the UAE will, all the accounts are blocked, whether it's single or joint. When it comes to HSBC in the other jurisdictions, like UK, Australia, Singapore, they don't block it because they have the either survivor concept. But in the UAE, they block everything. What is also very upsetting is that recently it's come to my knowledge that if you owe money to a UAE bank like HSBC and you have a credit balance sitting in your home country, they now have the right to block the account in your home country. So you owe money to Bank A in the UAE and you're banking with the same bank in a different location and they don't freeze accounts, now they can freeze it. So what I'm trying to get to is debts and liabilities have to be paid irrespective, which I'll cover after a few slides. What is important for you to know is that all bank accounts are blocked here. I cannot help you. Even if you have a will, I cannot help you because they will freeze everything. Number two, visas are cancelled. Now, with the exception of golden visas, remember, golden visas, put that aside. All dependent visas are cancelled. I cannot help you. I cannot help you at all. So if the husband passes away or the breadwinner passes away and you go to collect the death certificate, that death certificate has to be stamped by various departments, which means the visa of the deceased is cancelled and the dependent visas have 30 days to leave the country. Now, the problems doesn't stop there. Your embassy is also informed of death. So what does that mean? That means that your embassy here will send a message back to your home country. So if you're a South African national or Canadian, you're from Kenya, the Philippines, from France, Italy, Germany, Spain, I'm sorry to tell you, your bank accounts will be blocked there eventually. So if a Canadian national passes away in the UAE, his single and joint accounts are blocked here, and his single and joint bank accounts are blocked in the home country. These are the problems that happen. I haven't even spoken about the will. I haven't even told you what needs to be done. And in my experience, when you're dealing with a death case, there is a period of grief where the family may not be even thinking about the next steps, what to do. But you imagine if all the bank accounts are blocked and you've got 30 days to leave the country, and then in due course you find out the bank accounts in your home country can also be blocked, you imagine the problems what the family is going through. The reason why this topic is called succession in advance, succession planning in advance, is I'm going to give you solutions to all these problems. However, you need to start this today. So these three boxes, I have no control. I can't tell you in which order. I cannot tell you how long it would take. All I can tell you, it will happen in due course. And what is the upsetting part is we're not even talking about the estate distribution. We're not even talking about the will. We're not talking about what do you do now, the process dealing with a death case. These are the major problems. If you're able to get the body repatriated within 30 days, I think you've achieved something. And by the way, to repatriate a body from here is a minimum 20,000 dirhams plus the ticket money. So when your bank accounts are blocked and the credit cards are blocked, you imagine trying to raise 2,000 dirhams is going to be a mission, let alone 20,000. That's why when you hear about somebody who passed away, you can imagine what the family is going through. And a lot of the people get together to try and help the family out by having some sort of emergency pot put in place where everyone is just trying to help the family. And what is upsetting is that when the family goes back to the home country to deal with the funeral arrangements, then they need to apply for visas only to come back into the UAE to start the court process. So I can tell you, dealing with this matter is not simple, it's not easy, but I'm just giving you the bullet points. At the end, with the information I'm going to give to you, the solutions I'm going to give to you, believe me, it will put your mind at ease, but you need to start this now. Next point. So the first 3 points I mentioned is going to happen irrespective, will, no will, bank accounts are blocked, visas are cancelled, and your home country is informed. Now, why I did make a distinction between golden visas and normal visas. The difference is, if you have a golden visa, they will allow the term of the visa to continue. However, on renewal, either you cancel or you apply for your own separate visa. So if you can apply for a golden visa, I strongly recommend taking it. Now, the other complications. Local laws apply to the distribution of your estate. I gave you an example. Go onto the inheritance calculator app. You can download this, put the information, and it will tell you exactly who's getting what. So let's take an example. You have one daughter, no parents, and the husband pass away. The daughter takes 50%. The wife will take 12.5%. And the balance, so 50 plus 12.5 is 62.5. So the balance of 37.5% will go to the siblings. 2 shares to the brother, 1 share to the sister. Now, like I told you, I'm not here to tell you which law is better. I'm not here to tell you that your home country law is better. What I was trying to explain to you, that you can find faults in every law, but if there is no will, then the law of the land will apply. Your life policies, any gratuity, benefits, workman compensation is usually blocked, because once the HR is informed of death, they have to then obviously first send a message to the bank informing them that the employee is no more, and then they calculate the end of service benefits, and they usually club the gratuity and the life assurance together and pay this into the bank account of the deceased. So you imagine that money that could be given to your family is gone to your bank account, which is blocked. And you might be thinking, wait a minute, if the account is blocked, how can you pay money? You can pay money, you just can't take it out. All your other investments are frozen, including off-plan properties. Family arguments, you'll be shocked and surprised how many people come out the woodwork when it comes to these matters. Everyone is looking out for number one. Everyone is trying to see, are they entitled to a share? You'll be shocked where people, it's like Muslims will become non-Muslims. Non-Muslims will become Muslims. Why? Because they're looking at who can get what. Ex-partners, if you are separated, not divorced, I guarantee they will be coming out to claim their share, because at the end of the day, until you're not divorced, technically you're still married. Assets in your home country will be distributed according to the laws there. Now, you remember I told you the shares are given 2 shares to the son, 1 share to the daughter. The control of the inheritance, the children's share, let's assume that the 2 shares to the son, 1 share to the daughter, let's say that equates to 100,000 dirhams. The court will control the money. So you'd lose that control because that money belongs to the children. And I'm sorry to tell you that the court doesn't even trust the mother or the father, because there have been complaints where the parents were misusing the money. That's why they keep the money in the court. And if you want the money, you have to go to the court, put an application in, and the court will make the payment, if approved, to the third party. It is a very expensive process, and it's time consuming dealing with all the red tape. And in countries where inheritance tax is applicable, that's your home country, I'll guarantee they will be taxing you on your estate here as well. Now, if you have a registered will. Now, please note, a registered will is a will that is registered in the court, not a handwritten one, not something that you have got your work colleagues to sign and you've kept it one side. I'm talking a will with a court stamp. Now, it's come to my attention that there are many people who has guardianship documents and kept one side, and in fact, they've given it to the HR. They have zero value because it is not registered with the court. So if you have a registered will, what can you expect? Number one, expedited distribution of your estate. So the court will do the work immediately. Your wishes are applied locally, which means irrespective of your religion, you can make a will. There was restriction for Muslims registering a will, that they only can make a will of up to 1/3. Now you can make a will of 100% and give it to anyone. No laws, no local laws apply to that. The will covers all your estate and life policies and your end of service benefits. All your investments, including off-plan properties, will go to the people of your choice. No family disputes. Everyone knows what they're going to get. Even if they want to contest, they can, but the court will still apply the will. You can insert an exclusion clause to block any ex-partners. So you're separated, not divorced. You can even put a clause in saying the obvious, that you don't want your ex-partner to be, because there'd be many cases where people are separated, but for whatever reason, they haven't divorced. You can even block that person. It's a very cost-effective process dealing with the execution. If you have children from any other previous relationships, you can include them as well. You can leave a gift of money to a family member. So if you're sponsoring someone, you want to leave a gift of money, you can do that. Nominating a local executor is also important, because if your family is in your home country and you don't want them all coming into the UAE to deal with the paperwork, you can appoint someone locally to start the process. So only one person is there rather than the whole family. You also can leave a provision for a charity, which many people would like to do. But for me, the most important reason why you should make a will, and I'm sorry to say this is what majority of the expats are overlooking, is protecting your children. There was a case over 10 years ago that I dealt with. It was very tragic. And I was called into the school to do a talk on this subject. Both mother and father passed away in a car accident. The school were notified and the children were at the school. Now, what does the school do? Who do they contact? You know, it was something very new for the school. It was something very new for everyone. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. School didn't know what to do. Eventually, they had to call the police to put the children into protective custody. The school wasn't trying to be difficult. They just didn't know what to do. By the time the police came, took the children into temporary care, they had contacted the embassy to try and locate the extended family in the home country. By the time visas were sorted out and all the certificates were issued, and by the time the family had to borrow money to pay for the air tickets and everything else, and they came here to take the children, it took nearly 3 months for the process to be completed. Now, many people ask me, where were the kids within that 3-month period? I say, you shouldn't be asking me that question. You should be drafting a will. So protecting your children Please note, a will is the only document that allows you to legally appoint guardians to protect your children. And I'm talking about a registered will, not these handwritten documents that people have completed. But when drafting the will, you need to have both temporary and permanent guardians. Temporary are people living here. They could be your neighbors, work colleagues, someone at the school, a friend, excuse me, a distant relative, somebody living here who will get to the scene immediately. The permanent guardian could be your parents, siblings, who will come here, take the children, go back to the country. This article I wrote back in 2008. That's when I obviously was speaking about the guardian angels for your children, trying to educate expats on the importance of this subject, that you need a temporary guardian. And this problem or this issue where somebody passed away in the UAE, there was a case in Saudi Arabia as well, where parents met with an accident and they passed away, and there was the same problem there as well. Why draft a will? Number one is your children. People only think about money, properties. I'm sorry. You should be thinking about your children. Yes, it upholds your wishes. And number three, ensuring your estate is distributed as per your wishes. Now, you remember I told you a will only works when there is a death certificate. Let's say, God forbid, you are brain dead, incapacitated, or in a coma. What happens? Can a will work? The answer is no. A will requires a death certificate. I think everyone must remember the missing Malaysian airline MH370. It's not a hidden secret. Everyone knows about this. That plane disappeared. Do you know something many people did not know? That when a person's missing, presumed dead, there's a waiting time of up to 7 years. 7 years before you can legally declare that person dead. So you imagine when that plane disappeared, do you think the Malaysian government issued the death certificate within a month, within a week? No. For a death certificate to be issued, you need a body. No body, no death certificate, 7 years. Will cannot work. This is why I recommend a power of attorney. A power of attorney is not there to substitute the will, because when the death certificate is issued, the power of attorney is null and void. The will comes out to be executed. That's why I always recommend both the will and the power of attorney. So the power of attorney is during your lifetime. You can use the power of attorney 100 times, but a will, you only can use it once when there is a death certificate. Now, the next slide I'm about to tell you is not something I read from a book. This is not something someone told me. The housekeeping tips I'm giving to you today is dealing with death cases over the last 20 years, dealing with the red tape of this country, dealing with the private sectors, family politics, family disputes, dealing with, I cannot even tell you the problems I've dealt with when I'm dealing with death cases. So these housekeeping tips, I request you please pay particular attention to this slide and share this information with everyone. And like I said, I will be given a copy of this presentation, whoever wants one, together with a copy of this recording. Please share it. The information I'm giving, I give it to everyone. I wish I could go on TV and just give this talk to all the expats in the UAE, because believe me, dealing with a death case is very complicated. Number one, I'm clubbing points 1 and 2 together. So point 1 and 2, let's think of the letters A, B, C, D, and E properly. So what is A, B, C, D, E? A, if you've got a joint account in the UAE between the husband and wife, remember, the joint account is only for operational, not either survivor. So the husband should open up a single account in his name, Bank B. The wife should open up a single account in her name, her sole name, Bank C. Bank D, kids, bank accounts for the children, and Bank E, offshore accounts. A, B, C, D, E. So take an example. The husband passed away. His joint account with Bank A is blocked. The single account in Bank B is blocked. But Bank C, Bank D, Bank E is not blocked. And similarly, if the wife passed away, the joint account is blocked. That's Bank A. Bank C is not blocked. Sorry, I got a bit confused there. The wife passed away. Bank C is blocked. Bank A is blocked. But Bank B, D, E are not blocked. So the wife passed away. The husband's single account, the children's account, and the offshore account is not blocked. Why am I saying A, B, C, D, E? Is because you need to have an active account to even receive money. So if the life assurance is going to be paid to the wife or the husband, they need a receiving bank account. If you need to take money out to pay, even for the repatriation costs, you need an active bank account. That's why the bank account should be in this fashion. Now, why am I saying in different banks? Is because, I'm sorry to tell you this, banks won't give you this information. If the wife's account is in the same bank where the husband account is, I'll say it again, if the wife's single bank account is in the same bank where the husband is banking and the wife is a dependent on the husband's sponsorship, chances are very high that there is one common identification number for both the husband and wife. So what the banks do when they're notified of death, they block the identification number, which means all linked accounts are blocked. Banks won't give you this information. They want you to keep everything in the same bank. Do you know when I do talks with banks, I have to be so careful what I say, but deep down they know what I'm saying is correct, and deep down they know that what I'm saying will happen. This is why themselves, they keep their accounts in different banks. By the way, I don't open bank accounts. It's not my job. So the housekeeping tips I'm going to give to you, it's for you to do. It's nothing to do with me. Whether you do it or don't do it is up to you. You can open up savings account for children as young as 8 years of age. Are banks telling you this? Of course not, because banks don't make money. Do you know if your wife is a dependent, having no form of income, a homemaker or domestic engineer, I like to use, under the husband's sponsorship, she can open a separate account in her name. But banks won't give you this information because they want the main visa holder to open the account where they can go and give them loans, credit cards, etc., etc. Number 3, life assurance. I don't sell it, but everything's got to be paid. Your credit cards, car loans, personal loans, everything's got to be paid first. Mortgages. You think if I have a will and you owe the bank money, you think the will is going to cancel the loan? Why is the bank accounts blocked? It's for 2 reasons. Number 1 is to pay your debts and liabilities. Even in Europe, why do they freeze bank accounts? Pay your inheritance tax. Here, debts and liabilities. And second reason, who are the legal heirs? Now you might think, wait a minute, if it's a joint account, the legal heir is my spouse. But the bank say, sorry, we need a court order to make sure we are giving the money to your spouse. That's why they freeze the accounts. So why am I saying life assurance? Because if you don't have enough money to clear your debts and liabilities, they'll block the account. They will keep the money, but that life assurance, it will be paid out. And that will go into their A, B, C, D accounts. Well, not A because it's joint. But if you go into B, C, D, E, or whatever, whoever's the survivor, the point I'm trying to get to, you need a receiving bank, you need life assurance. And that money can be used for any purpose, even settling your liabilities, even leaving this country, repatriation. Now, many people may not know this, but when you go back to your home country, and I always tell all the expats, don't burn your bridges in your home country. You never know when you need to go back. Always keep an emergency account in your home country. Life insurance is paid to make the process simple. So when you're transitioning between UAE and your home country, and the breadwinner's no more, that life assurance helps. And by the way, I don't sell life assurance. Number 4, list of assets. That's the death file I'm talking about. We have created a 45-page document, which I'll give to anyone, everyone, where you can write down what you own. It's very upsetting that between spouses, there's very little transparency where the money is, very little. I even tell the spouses, husband and wife, over the weekend, just turn the TV off, make sure the kids are asleep, and have a roadmap where the money is. What are you going to do? So husband say, I'm no more. Wife, write down, what do you know I have? This role play is important because you need that death file for the court. If you are not sharing the information, and let's not talk about why you're not doing it, if that's obvious. If you're not sharing the information, it's going to be very difficult to locate the money. So make a list of assets, and I'm not talking about assets in the UAE, I'm talking everywhere. Number 5, for all the women who are working, but still under your husband's sponsorship, go and get a separate visa. Even if you own a property, apply for an investor visa. If you want to, you can obviously look at buying a company in your name, get a separate visa, probably do some trading. I know sometimes a group of women can get together to share the cost, get a company, separate visas, so that something happened, you don't need to leave the country. And guess what? You can sponsor the children as well. Number 6, complete all beneficiary nominee forms. Complete them. So if you're working for one of the airlines, has the HR given you a beneficiary form for your life assurance? If they have you got a copy? Don't tell me I don't have a copy, then it means you haven't got one then. And if you've got a copy, that is part of the death file that you need to share with your family. And that form should be up to date. So if you joined the company when you were single and you put your parent down as a beneficiary, then afterwards you got married and you're having children, that beneficiary form is out of date. You need to update it. Don't expect the HR to keep ringing you, emailing you to update the form. Take the initiative and do the work yourself. And once that is done, get a copy of that form, put it in the death file, and for God's sake, share this with your family. Number 7, your marriage and children's birth certificates, make sure it is fully attested with the Ministry of Justice, not Ministry of Foreign Affairs. To get a visa up to MOFA is adequate, but when you're dealing with a death case, you need the MOJ, Ministry of Justice. Number 9, letter of wishes. We have a template. I can share this with you. What does a letter of wishes do? It talks about informal requests like organ donation. Do you want to be buried or cremated? You might have jewelry. You want to give this to someone. There might be some charity. I mean, one parent wanted her daughter to become a gynecologist. Letter of wishes. We have a template. I'll give it to you. Maybe someone owes you money. Maybe you owe someone money. You don't want to write this in a will because you don't want to keep changing the will. Letter of wishes. We have the Just Wills Afterlife app, which we will give free access to everyone who becomes a Just Wills client. What is the objective? The will is on the app. Share the credentials of the app to your family. So if you pass away tomorrow, the person can download a copy of the will. So we give this complimentary to all of our clients. However, our main focus is on points 11 and 12. 11 and 12 is the will and the power of attorney. But the housekeeping tips, you need to deal with it, because if the money is going to be paid to your children, the court wants the IBAN number of your child's account to send the money. They're not going to give it to your brother or sister. Even if you say, I want to leave the money to my daughter, the court wants her account number. They're not going to give this to X. They want the account number. So how many of you have opened up bank accounts for your children? And that information is part of point number 4, the death file. You need to make a note of this. Like I told you before, the dead cannot speak. But for me, you have the death file that has all your information. That file is speaking. So for me, the will is a jigsaw puzzle. This is a jigsaw puzzle. This took me a lot of time to complete. This is what you need to be focusing on. And you know, it's funny that I don't open bank accounts. I don't sell life assurance. I'm not here to write down the password of your laptop, because many people are putting their data on a laptop, but they don't even give the password to their family. Even the mobile phone, if you need an OTP and you're not sharing the lock code with your family, how are you going to get the OTP? We are living in the world of technology. And I just feel like whatever you may want to call it, there's very little transparency. So what information is required for us to do the work, to start the work? I need passport copy, Emirates ID, husband, wife, and children. Now, if you have children, who are the guardians? Guardians are 2 types, temporary, permanent. Temporary living here, not 1, not 2. Give me 5 temporary guardians. More the merrier. Permanent is in your home country. Mother, father, brother, sister. Give me their details. Who are the executors? Now, remember, the executor by definition is the PRO going to the court to deal with the execution. Asset distribution is like the husband saying, I'm giving everything to my wife. Wife saying, wait a minute, I'm not giving you anything. If I die, you probably get married again. So I'm giving my money to my children directly. That's the asset distribution I need you to decide. Now, some FAQs. Can a will from overseas work locally? When I say will, if a person passes away post-death, and you've got the will and the grant of probate, which is a court legal document that the court issues after someone passed away, can that work in the UAE? Yes, but it's very, very expensive and time consuming. When do you update a will? When there is a major change in your circumstances. Say you're single, you get married, or you're married, you get divorced, or you're changing the guardians, you're changing the beneficiaries. That's when you update the will. Can the executor be a guardian? The answer is yes. I'd rather you keep them separate. What is the age of maturity in the UAE? It's 21. But if you ask any parent, if you have 100,000 dirhams, would you give it to your child at 18, 21, or 25? You'd be shocked. Majority of people say 30, because they say, wait a minute, 21 in the middle of university, they're going to receive 100,000 dirhams, they will misuse it. For me, age of maturity should be minimum 25, but that's my opinion. Is there a concept of a joint will? Now, a joint will is basically one will covering both husband and wife. The answer is no. It's either a single or a mirror. Does a will need to be in English or Arabic? Both. Is a list of assets in the will? No, this is separate. And that inventory, the one I said, a 45-page document, keep that separate. How long it takes to draft a will? 3 to 5 days. I can draft a will even sooner. Are there any inheritance tax in the UAE? Right now, there isn't. I can't guarantee tomorrow. Where do I keep the list of assets? Keep it with the executor. That's a person going to the court. It can be your spouse. It can be your brother, your sister. It could be a professional. It's entirely up to you. Can I prepare a codicil tomorrow if I want to make a change? No, you have to change the will. Now, are debts passed on to the family? This is very interesting. Debts are not transferred, but you cannot inherit until the debt is cleared. So let's say you owe the bank 100 dirham and there's only 80 dirhams in the account. So the bank will block 80. Keep the 80, but they cannot chase you for 20. But if you want to apply to transfer the 80 dirhams, you can't do it until the bank is fully paid. But the bank cannot chase you for the balance. Can the will cover global assets? This is case to case. 8 out of 10 times it can work internationally. Can a Muslim prepare a will? Yes. 100% they can prepare it to whomever they like. Do you need a lawyer to execute a will? No, anyone can do it. Your spouse, brother, sister, friend, work colleague, anyone can do it. Do all assets pass to the husband if the wife pass away? Now, this is a misconception. So some people I know transferred everything in the wife's name thinking, oh, I don't own anything. If I pass away, my wife get everything. I say, yes. Then when I ask the question, what happens if the wife go? The husband say, I get everything. I said, no, you will take only 25%. So this is very important for you to know. Again, for further information, download the calculator. What happens if you have a special needs child? Well, you appoint a special trustee. Where can you open up minor bank accounts? Any bank. Funeral arrangements. Put this into a letter of wishes. I can send you the template. Power of attorney, is it local or global? Power of attorney is local. Every country has their law. Beneficiary versus a nominee form. Now be careful. A beneficiary means the person named gets the money. A nominee form means the person is only acting as a trustee. So if you completed a nominee form at your work, thinking it's a beneficiary form, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, it may not work. Are wills generic? Of course. So a husband saying, I'm giving everything to my wife, that's generic. But if you are making reference to a particular gift that this bank account is going to X or this property is going to Y, then you need to add that clause into the will itself. Not informing the banks of death and using the power of attorney, that is fraud. You get caught, you'll be in a big problem. Can I take the will to the bank to unblock the bank accounts post-death? The answer is no. You've got to go back to the court. The court will write to the bank. How do you clear your mortgages? Well, make sure you have life assurance and make sure the life assurance equals the mortgage value. Example, you owe the bank 1 million dirhams, but husband has 500,000 life cover, wife has 500,000 life cover. That's wrong. Each one should have 1 million, so that if the husband passed away, the mortgage is free. If the wife passed away, the mortgage is free. It's cleared. But unfortunately, people take half the cover. It should be the full per person. Can you appoint an executor for a business only? Yes. Will or foundation is ideal for those people who are holding multiple assets, properties, investments globally. You form a holding company, but this is a complicated subject. Anyone wants further information, contact me separately, please. What about cryptocurrency? Write it down. Share this information. What happens to company bank accounts? Well, I'm sorry to tell you, they will be blocked. What happens if you have debts with Bank A and a credit balance with Bank B? Well, until you don't clear the debt, you can't claim. the credit. I'm sorry. Now, if anyone is in cryptocurrency, I'm sorry, I still don't understand how cryptocurrency works. But if you're in cryptocurrency, you'll find this article very interesting. Like I told you, always prepare an inventory, write everything down. Whatever you own, make a list. Now, which court to register the wills? Before I begin with the court, remember, everyone is entitled to the 50% corporate rate, which is on the group chat. So if you look here, the drafting fees is 2,000 dirham per person plus the court fees. You're going to the Abu Dhabi court, 1,500 dirham. You're going to the Dubai court, 3,000. You're going to the DIFC, 10,000 dirham. So there's a big price difference. The next slide will help you to understand more. Don't worry, and there's a lot of information to take on a Sunday morning. I'm going to be emailing this to you. Whoever wants this information will get it. But can I tell you in a bullet point form, Dubai and Abu Dhabi's government, they don't market, they don't advertise. DIFC is semi-government, they're marketing. But you must have heard that expression, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Why they're marketing, they're charging 10,000 dirham. So you are paying for the marketing costs. But post-death, DIFC court cannot send the orders to unblock the assets. Only Dubai court can do it. Now, if you're living in Dubai, can you register a will in Abu Dhabi? Yes. It's just a video call and it's half the price. For your information, majority of the EPC, APC, EPW, they're all going to Abu Dhabi court. It's very cost effective. And guess what? It's a video call. You don't go to the court. From your home, you register your will. In fact, you can register the will anywhere in the world. So if you're sitting in Singapore, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia, South Africa, it's a video call. You can register your will. It's the first of its kind anywhere in the world. I've seen a will being registered. Other services we offer. So we help you with making agreements, prenuptial agreements, postnuptial agreements. We can help with the foundation company setup, tax residency certificates to avoid inheritance tax, lifetime gifts for inheritance tax purposes. We do these talks all the time. So if you want to do a talk for a company, for a group of people, we will do it very similar to what I did today. We attest documents with the Ministry of Justice, Arabic translation. We do translation of documents in most languages. We also have living and BVI wills. We can help you with business succession services. We offer PRO services. So if you want to apply for an investor visa, golden visa, we can look into it and help you out. And probate, that is when somebody's passed away. We can help you with that as well. Available is the Afterlife app that I told you can download. And this is the feedback form. So for those people who join late, if you want to take a snapshot of this feedback form, you can now send me your information and I'll be able to send all the information to you. Now there's about 37 messages. I'm going to go through this. And if anyone want to ask me a question, please feel free to do so. This is the opportunity I give to everyone to ask me any question, any doubt, any concern, any information they want. Please ask me. I'll be more than happy to help you. Can I please request the people who put their details on the group chat to email a copy, if you can please complete the feedback form so that I can have your full name, email ID and contact number in case there's any further communication.
Hi, Mohammed.
Hilary, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much. That was super interesting, very, very helpful,
Thank you.
eye-opening. Can I just confirm there if I understand correctly? So if for a husband and wife, each person would need to do a separate will, and they each need to be registered in the courts, separate things as well. You called them, I think, mirror wills. But
Correct.
it's two separate documents. They would just reflect the same or the opposite things if that's what you chose to do.
Correct.
But it's two different things. So you would do your price of whatever it is plus your registration thing with the court each time. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, I explained to you, this depends if the assets are in joint names.
Yeah.
Let's assume that it's your partner who's owning everything. Then
Yeah.
you need one will. Now,
Okay.
I always recommend two wills because you can't guarantee what you will own tomorrow.
Yeah.
And if you were to inherit from your partner tomorrow, and then God forbid you're no more, then at least you know your will is covering what you potentially would have received, so that there is another level that you can give this to your children. Otherwise, I mean, there was a case, it's very tragic, that when I give examples, even I have to think and pause, am I doing
Yeah.
the right thing? But there was a case where the husband passed away immediately in an accident, and the wife was hospitalized, and she passed away after a few months. So according to the husband's will, everything was going to the wife, but the wife didn't have a will. So it was very complicated. And in some countries, they look at the wife passing away within 28 days, means the wife already passed away at the same time as the husband did. So there was some legalities trying to get the money from the husband, bypassing the wife, going to the children. So I recommend two wills. I recommend two power of attorneys and register it in a court. I know the costs will go up. I'm sorry to say this. I just recommend it because respectfully, we don't know who's going to go first, who's going to go second. And because I've dealt with so many cases, I'm just such a pessimist. I just think negatively, negatively all the time.
Okay, that's super helpful. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Any other questions, please? Okay, there was a question. Please elaborate a little on the golden visa. So to get a golden visa, you need to show that you own a property or you have money in the bank account. Property is better. If the property is worth 1 million dirhams plus, you can apply for a golden visa. Only reason why I'm recommending this is because at the end of the day, golden visas are not cancelled. In fact, they will be cancelled, but the term is longer. You can have a 5-year visa or a 10-year visa. So what I can say is that you need to justify the amount of money. The annual salary is 30,000 dirham per month. So anyone earning more than 30,000, they can even apply for a golden visa. Question: are the bank accounts being blocked only applicable if you are banking with the same bank in both the UAE and the home country? Look, let me just tell you one thing. If you're banking with a bank like HSBC and you are having money owed here and you've got a credit balance in your home country, HSBC reserves the right to block the home country as well as the UAE to make sure the debt is paid. We have wills registered in our home country. I have heard that they now recognize and follow the wills. The answer is yes, they do. But you need to get the grant of probate. Now, the grant of probate is a legal document the court issue after a person passes away. And that grant of probate can take 1 year. So imagine you get the grant of probate with the will, get everything attested from the UAE embassy, translated into Arabic, submitted to the Abu Dhabi court, and they will accept it. The whole process could take up to 2 years, and the expense, translations, attestation is not cheap. But if you have children, now think about this, if you have children, you both pass away, are you waiting for the grant of probate, or you want a document that will work immediately in the UAE? So it's better to have a local will. Right, if wife is main sponsor of husband and children and the husband does not work in the UAE, does the husband need to do anything in respect of guardianship? Well, that's a good question. So you're saying the wife is the sponsor in the UAE, children are here, I'm assuming, husband's in the home country. So the wife or the mother makes a will, however she wants money to be split, it's fine. But when it comes to the guardianship, you put the husband down, but you need to focus more on temporary guardians in the UAE as well. Right, if you're divorced, update your will. Make sure that you are clear who you're leaving the money to. Make sure you have the executors or the trustees looking after the money for your children if they are the beneficiaries. So all I can say, you've got to be very clear, because if you're married, according to any law, the spouse is still a legal heir. So have a will and obviously put down what you want. Even if you want the money going to your spouse, that's up to you. But then you just need to make sure the will reflects your wishes. Hope that explains. Should the power of attorney be someone else other than the spouse? That's a very good question. The answer is yes, but be careful. A power of attorney is a double-edged sword. It can be used and misused. So make sure you give it to someone who you trust. If a child is abroad, will they get paid the inheritance in the foreign country? Of course they will. Have they got a bank account? If they haven't got a bank account, we're back to square one. If there is a bank account, give their account number to the court. The court will send the money anywhere in the world. The recording will be available. I'll send that to you, not an issue. If you have a will from your home country, it will not work here in the sense of registration because the court has a different format. That's why we will help you register the will according to the UAE format. We are paying life insurance as part of the mortgage payment. Does it not mean the debt would be covered by the insurance company? Depends on the amount. Because I've seen cases, that's why I gave the example, that you owe the bank $1 million, but the life insurance is 500 for you, 500 for your partner. So if you pass away, the insurance company will pay 500, but the debt is still there of 500. So I've been telling the banks, it should be $1 million each. So make sure the life insurance is it's equal in the mortgage per person, not the amount to be divided, it's per person. Any tips in case of divorce? It's a complicated one. Just make a prenuptial or postnuptial agreement and have your will reflecting your wishes. Would it make a difference if the title deed just had one name or both? It's a good question. If it's in single name, then one will. If it's in joint names, two wills, because if you put it into joint names, that means both the husband and wife owns 50% each. Now, I don't know who's going to go first. So that's why you have a mirror will. How about if the husband and wife have in different religions? Very good question. It makes no difference now. Anyone can make a will. They're not looking at the religion. Can investment accounts in another country be covered in the will? The answer is yes. Remember I said global wills, we can cover the investments, not a problem. I think that's about it really on the questions and everything else. So I now leave the floor to you guys. If you want to ask me a question, please do so. Otherwise, please fill in the feedback form and I can send you a recording, the presentation, the inventory, letter wishes, and the checklist of documents you need when you are opening up a legal aid file. So any questions, please feel free to ask me. One thing I would like to say is I like to run more of these sessions. I don't know if you want more, let me know. Carol, I just want to say thank you very much. I know you are in Glasgow in Scotland, so I just want to say thank you very much for allowing this platform for me to do this talk, and we can run more of these sessions educating people on the importance of this topic. So if you want any, if you can get me a group of people, club you together, I would love to do another session. But thank you, Carol, for allowing this to happen. And I'd just be grateful if you can drop, a message on our LinkedIn profile or Facebook or Instagram, whatever social platform you're used to, just basically giving me some positive, hopefully positive input on what I've covered today. So it just helped me trying to get into the other circles, educating people on the importance of this topic. If anyone knows anyone in Etihad Airways, I'm anxiously trying to do a talk there with the HR, but it's been a nightmare trying to find the right person. So anyone can connect me with the HR of Etihad, that would be great. And I can do similar talk. Just a quick question. In the event of death, if they are paid for, if you hit this link here, scan the QR code, you'll get all the information, and then we can take it from there then.
Hello, just one last question, if you allow me.
Please,
Uh,
Gary.
yeah, if you have a will back in your home country
Mhm.
where it says that your assets are going like to your kids and your husband and not to your parents, what would happen in case of death?
Look, let me explain. If you have a will in your home country and you pass away, they will issue a document called a grant of probate, which is like a will. The content is similar to the will, but they give this after death. That document with the will, bring it to the UAE, the court will accept it. But like I said, it will take a lot of time, and you've got to translate all the documents into Arabic. It's much cheaper. You make a local will and register it. But remember one thing, if there's minor children involved, you need a document ready in the UAE, registered with the court, that they will accept. Now, if you're telling me, shall I bring the will from my home country, submit it to the courts here, they won't accept it because A, it's got to be English and Arabic, and B, it's got to be in a particular format. And there's some clauses in the will that makes reference to the UAE law, which you're not providing for in your home country. And I can guarantee in most cases that when you draft in a will in your home country, you're not going to put an interim or temporary guardianship clause in your home country because you're not thinking that far ahead. So when I'm talking to someone in the UAE and I find out there are children involved, then I know straight away we need temporary guardians, not one, not two, give me 5 temporary guardians, because the UAE is a transit country. People are coming and going every time. That's why you need to have different levels. Same thing with the executors and with the permanent guardians, more the merrier. That's why the will I'm drafting here will be more in depth than the will you will have in your home country, because this is something we specialize in, something we're doing for many, many years. And I'm actually even looking at like a disaster clause in case, God forbid, husband, wife, and children all pass away in a freak accident. Where does the money go? I'm thinking that far ahead. Like I said, I'm such a pessimist. People think that I'm just thinking too much negatively all the time. Oh, sorry. My apologies. Any other questions, please? Would it be advisable to have life insurance for the temporary cost after death? Yes. Definitely, I recommend it. By the way, I don't sell life insurance. In fact, many people think that I should sell life insurance because I'm probably doing a better job than the other people. The will covers all cars, vehicles, personal belongings, everything. Power of attorney, remember, it's where the principal make a document for the attorney, say husband to wife or wife to husband, where the attorney is managing all the affairs. Please bear in mind, it is a double-edged sword. It can be used and misused. That's why I'm hoping you're giving it to someone who you trust. But let me tell you, it's a very useful document, very powerful. And I'll send you an attachment on this as well then. Any other questions you have, please?
Hi, I have one, if you
Sandy.
don't mind.
Please,
Just-
Sandy. Yeah.
Just to elaborate on what I'm saying about the vehicles and the personal belongings. Say you have a vehicle that's paid off for and it's under your spouse's name, and unfortunately that spouse passes, not only just vehicles, property and whatever, but mainly your movable stuff. Are you allowed to sell that car, or because you would obviously have to go back home?
If I can explain, look, it's a very delicate matter. What I'm about to tell you is slightly unethical, but if you have the power of attorney, I know it's null and void, but you can still use it to sell the car, to even renew the mulkia, knowing that the person's passed away. But don't forget, the check will be issued in the owner's name. So it's important you have the bank accounts in the fashion I told you about. Ultimately, you may need the court order to transfer the vehicle or sell. But I've seen cases where people are using the power of attorney. It's wrong, but what can you do? Sometimes, you put into a position where you don't have much of a choice. But that's why you have a will, because the will is written into stone and the court will respect it. But like I said, there is a due process you need to follow when dealing with a death case. And I will be sending you a checklist of the documents you require when dealing with the death case. I must tell you, it's not a simple process. That's why I told you in the beginning, succession planning in advance. Start it today. Keep all your documents. That death file, I can't think of another word. That death file, you need to prepare this now. Keep it ready one side. So something happened, someone just go and get that file and they have a roadmap. They know what to do, who to contact, and what paperwork is required. Even your HR department, if you know someone, excuse me, if you know someone, put the details so that the family can contact the HR to even get the gratuity and the service benefits. Now, whether they give a window, pay into the wife's account or the family account, that's up to the HR. The will is there to make sure whatever's blocked will be unblocked. But whatever's blocked, until you don't open up a legal air file, I cannot unblock it. So the will is there to unblock everything. But in the interim, life insurance, separate bank accounts, having a roadmap, list of assets, a death file, you need to be doing this anyway. Hope that explains.
Yes, it does. Thanks. And then just one last thing. I know this is something that we shouldn't be thinking of, but we have, as a couple, discussed this, is that any money that's in the accounts in the event of death, we should just draw it out. Unfortunately, it is what we've discussed, but
Sandy, I completely agree. If you can, if you're in the right frame of mind, if you have the internet banking credentials, which I'm sorry to say, many people don't even share it, get it done. I mean, I'll just give you my example. Everything is on a mobile phone and, it's like a thumbprint, unlock the phone, internet banking, thumbprint, transfer the money. This is what I told my family, and I've recorded my family's thumbprints into the mobile phone so anyone can access it. Now, respectfully, not many people think like that. Some people are, they're not wanting the family to have all this information, but I cannot comment on that. But I just told my family, thumbprint, unlock the mobile, go to the mobile banking app, thumbprint, unlock it. I've got everyone's accounts in separate banks, transfer the money, thumbprint, the money's gone. And the rest, it's dealing with the court, but at least get the money out. That's more important. But when one of the attendees was speaking about life insurance for dealing with after death expenses, yes, get it done.
Yes, that was me. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Sandy, I didn't see the name, but get it done
Yeah.
because repatriation of the body is 20,000 dirhams. By the way, burial and cremation is free of charge in the UAE, but many people don't want to be buried or cremated here. They want to go back to their country. Cargo costs 20,000 dirhams minimal, plus the airline tickets. Okay, I've got a question here from David. If you have a will, how long does it take for your spouse or kids to get to able to use it or get possession? It's a very good question, David. Assuming you have the death file ready, and I'm sorry to say the problem is always there, but assuming you have it ready, submit it to the court. Within 6 to 8 weeks, the court has sent the orders to transfer everything from A to B. Then there's a matter of going to the land department, transferring the property in your name, going to the bank, transferring the money into your account. Everything's done, but the court needs minimum 2 months. They will do everything. But get the death file ready. Keep the folder ready. Have all the documents there. Hope that explains. Can you set up the registered will, Calvin? Yes, we can. Just fill in the form. I'll send an email. We'll take it from there. If you have a property abroad, will it be covered in the will as well? Depends which country, because in certain countries, translating the will into that language is mandatory and can be very expensive. Example, I had an Italian client who wanted the will in English, Arabic, Italian. The Italian legal translation was costing over 7,000 dirhams. And the client told me, God, I can make the will cheap in my country. I said, get it done because the translation is not in my control and they do charge a lot of money.
Hi, Mohammed.
Hi, Daniela, please.
Hi, sorry if this has already been asked.
No,
Can I
that's
just
fine.
get clarification? If we have an offshore account
Yes.
in joint names, but it's not in our home country,
Mm-hmm.
is that affected upon
Okay.
either of us, or probably especially my husband's death, if it happens?
You know, there's a bank called Saxo Bank. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're based in Denmark. Now, for many people living in the UAE, they consider Saxo Bank as an offshore account. Well, I'm sorry to give you the bad news. They freeze single and joint accounts. So when you say offshore, which jurisdiction and the name of the bank? If it's HSBC, Standard Chartered Bank, yes, they don't block the accounts, either survivor. But if you owe HSBC money here and you've got credit balance there, they reserve the right to block the account to cover their liability here.
Okay, so say hypothetically it's in Switzerland and we owe no money here.
Then they don't block it then.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And thanks for today. Much appreciated.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much. I think hold on. What is the cost for an amendment to the will? Look, the court fees, you have to pay again. Our fees we can discuss depending on the amendment. Because the will is generic, I'm not covering the assets. The only time you update the will is if you're changing the beneficiaries. So it may require a new will anyway, but it really depends. So if you can give me a direct example, then I can say if you need to update the will, or maybe you don't need to update the will.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi there. Thank you so much for an informative session. Yes, so the question would be if there is a beneficiary change, for example, you don't have any children at this stage, but if that changes in the very near future and you would like to do an update, that would be the context of my question. Thank you.
Look, when I'm drafting a will and you don't have children, I can say, let it go to the children, because at the end of the day, we need a birth certificate to prove this is the child. But if you want to give me the guardians today, I know it's slightly premature, but if you want to, I can put the temporary and permanent guardians today. But if you are looking for updating the will and adding the details, is the court fees, and our fees probably be 1,500 dirham to update the will. Because we're giving you a 50% reduction, the minimum we charge to update a will is 1,500 dirham. So this will cover all changes in temporary guardians, permanent guardians, changing your IDs, all of that is part of the will. Thank you, Wilna. Any other question, please? Well, look, thank you very much for your time, and I'm really am honored to, to be part of this platform. So you've got my contact details. If there's anything you want to contact with, please let me know. And again, the cost for the will is 2,000 dirham plus the court fees. If you scroll up, Arvinder Singh, if you scroll up to the top of the group chat, everything is there. And if you can scan the feedback form, I can send you the information as well then. Thank you very much, everyone. Wow, it's been 1.5 hours. So thank you, all of you. Have a nice day. Please don't stress yourself. These are just housekeeping tips I'd like to share with you all. That's it then. Thank you very much. All the best.